channel. If you could not tell, I have finally organized my sewing space and made it much more functional for this room and for myself. I even did a deep dive into these drawers and cleaned out fabric, organized it, got rid of like true scraps that like I'm not going to be able to do anything with, and it feels so much better. Like, it is so easy to get work done now, like project wise. It is so easy to pick up a project, put everything away. I also have started making a practice of cleaning up every single time I sew, and I keep this box of like my essentials because last time I literally lost my like good pair of fabric scissors. How does one lose their best pair of scissors? I don't know. I found them and they're in here. So now all of my essentials will live in this box. It also is baby proof, so nothing comes off of the table because little hands try to reach up here. So I keep the box shut in the center. It's perfect. So that's enough yapping for now. Into today's video, I am going to be making a quilted jacket. I made my pattern the other day, and I've self-drafted a lot of things on this channel, and so I'm not going to bore you with the details again. But essentially, I took a jacket that fits my daughter in her size, and I traced it all out, added my seam allowance, and kind of adjusted the pattern how I wanted the jacket to then come out. So it's not exactly the jacket that I traced, but it's the jacket that I want to produce. And what am I making this out of? I'm actually making it out of this old comforter. So this comforter is unfortunately not usable as a comforter because it got burnt in the dryer in certain places, and it also snagged in the washer and has some like tears and like almost like grease residue. But I just love this and I couldn't part with it, and I always knew I wanted to do quilted jackets. So I am going to make one for myself as well because this is a king-sized comforter, and I have a sheet that I'm going to use that has a complementary color for like the binding and the lining and all that. But this is a king-size comforter, so I will definitely have enough to make a baby jacket and then an adult-sized jacket. That one is to come. I haven't decided if I'm going to purchase a pattern for mine or if I'm just going to try to self-draft it. I think self-drafting, it's not going to come out as good. Self-drafting baby clothes is like not that difficult because it's just really tiny proportions and they're kind of more simple than adult clothes. Also, she's going to grow out of it within weeks, so months maybe if I'm lucky. It's not as important that it's like super high quality durable. Obviously I like her to get some use out of it, but I want mine to be really good because it will be mine for a very long time. So I might venture into looking for a jacket pattern, but I don't have a lot of time today, so let's get cutting because that was my goal, was to just get pieces cut out today. Let's see if we can get that done. I'm actually gonna put pins in this before I do the quilting because some of the little things keeping it together got cut off. I got all of my pieces cut out and I have them pinned so they don't come apart so I can quilt each piece. And this is where I'm gonna leave it for now because the second I turn my sewing machine on, my daughter will wake up. So we'll pick this back up later. It's the next day and we're gonna get started quilting. I don't have any markers, like fabric markers, like the ones that either are heat removable, like with an iron, or washable when you put them in the wash. But I did find this tool in my stash and it creates like a little like mark where you run it over. So I think that's what I'm gonna use for my quilt lines, and I'm just gonna do it on the back side. And I think I'm just going to go with like a little diagonal to make like little diamonds. I think that's gonna be a good one. So I'm gonna do that right now, make my little lines. If this doesn't work out well, what I have done in the past is just pinned the line that I wanna do, and then it's easy to kind of like from that line sew the rest of them, because you can just mark like, okay, like I did this one, I just have to put it now this far away from the needle and put it through and kind of use that thread as like your guide. But I don't think I'm gonna need to use the pins. I think this will work out. So I'm gonna try it on the sleeve first. That feels like the least dangerous, I suppose. Like I don't wanna do it on the front of the jacket. That's gonna be like the main focal point, or like the back that's gonna like look really good. So I'm gonna just try the sleeve because I feel like that one is just the least scary to mess up on. I did actually all of this pretty much off camera because I was just trying to like figure it out. Two things I'm not good at: quilting and sewing in a straight line, which is what all of this is. So it's not perfect, but I do think it is really cute. It did obviously move around a ton. So I think hindsight, I probably should have just cut out a big block of the quilt or the comforter that I knew would be enough for all my pattern pieces, and I should have just quilted that and then cut all my pieces out. So something to note. I'm just gonna do a better job at keeping them together next time. This will be fine, it'll work fine. And then also I think I'm going to line the jacket. I wasn't going to, but I think it's gonna be necessary. So it came out cute, and I just have to do all of the other pieces. Pieces quilted, and I also cut out a lining. So now I have to assemble the exterior shell and the lining shell and then put them together. I did actually end up making the sleeves bigger. I'll show you my old sleeves. So they're only a little bit bigger. So essentially the first sleeves I drafted kind of tapered in, and I ended up leaving them just like straight out because when I had the sleeve kind of just draped on her, it just wasn't enough room in the arm for her arm to be like comfortably. And also I purposely made this kind of big so that she could wear it throughout all of the fall and hopefully the winter. I mean, obviously if it's like really, really cold, I don't know how this will hold up. But the tapered edges were just like not giving enough room, so I ended up just kind of putting them straight down. So I did end up doing 2 new sleeves. So let's get our bodice kind of together, and then I will worry about the sleeves. I've never sewn sleeves before, so I'm not looking forward to sleeve construction, if I'm being honest. But let's get started with at least the bodice, and then maybe I'll try the sleeves on the lining before I try the sleeves on the exterior fabric. We'll see how it goes. Cute. Between the baby being fussy today and trying to film for YouTube and TikTok, I have no idea what I've filmed and what I haven't filmed, but all I can say is the sleeve was much harder than I anticipated. As usual, I'm always saying that. I'm always saying X, Y, and Z was always harder than I anticipated, but I tried to sew the, oh, I also have the lining, by the way. I'm turning it inside out so I can put it in. But I tried to sew the side seam and then put the sleeve into the hole, and it just didn't work, especially with the quilted material. So it was easier to just attach it at the shoulders and then attach the whole sleeve and then sew from here all the way down closed. Because this was a comforter, it is a little stiff, but I just tried it on her before, and it is coming out really cute. So I'm excited to get to this step, which is I'm going to insert the lining and match it up here, and sew it all down. And then the very last thing, I'm going to put bias tape around the entire exterior to cover all of the raw edges. I also think that the green on the outside would just look really, really cute. And then I'm going to do some little ties as the closure, and I'm gonna make it out of the green fabric as well. So it's gonna have like 3 little ties down the front. And I'm just realizing I put my clips away and I need them. This project is coming out really, really good though. Like, it's coming out really cute, so I'm very happy with that. It was a little easier than I thought, honestly, but of course there was always things that were difficult. Like, I've never sewn a sleeve before, and I'm not following a pattern. I'm just, I self-drafted the pattern, but I'm not following instructions to a pattern. I'm just kind of doing it how I think it would go. So I've never sewn sleeves before, so that was a first. And I think I did a pretty good job figuring it out. And like I said earlier, like, she will outgrow this. It's not something that she's going to be able to wear for, you know, years and years and years to come. So this was kind of my trial run on how to make a jacket like this, because it just kind of has to be good enough for this fall and possibly winter, and she really won't be able to wear it again because she'll grow. But when I make mine, that'll be something that I really want to be like a long-term piece of mine. So I will really want to do it well. I was thinking about maybe getting a pattern, but honestly, after doing this, I think that I'll be able to do it myself by self-drafting a pattern from a jacket that I really like the shape of, that I already own. I think that I'll be able to do it, especially now that I kind of have my bearings on some of the mistakes here. Like, I should have cut a giant piece of fabric that was gonna fit all of my pattern pieces, and I should have quilted it first and then cut all my pattern pieces, because I did have some movement, which happens when you're quilting. So then, since my pieces were cut exactly right, it ended up kind of a little wonky, and there were a few pieces where kind of I wasn't gonna be able to match it up without going like so far into the seam allowance. So how I combated that was just doing a little zigzag stitch to encase the raw edge. So you can see the fabric kind of separated from where the batting was. So there's like a teensy little bit of batting exposed, and this was a raw edge. I just encased it. But when you're looking from afar, you really can't tell. And then, like I said, she's going to outgrow this. So it's not the end of the world if there are some imperfections, because it will be something that, unfortunately, she's only gonna wear this season, and then that's it. So I am just going to stitch these together, and then we just have the bias tape, which I am not looking forward to because it takes forever to create bias binding, bias tape, whatever you want to call it. It takes forever, and I'm not looking forward to it, but it will give this a very, very clean look, without having to do, well, actually, there's nothing else I could have done. Like I was going to say, without having to finish off raw edges. Like when you're making a garment, you finish off the raw edges on the inside, but these are all outside seams. So there was no choice but to do binding just the way that I designed it. So, all right, let me get this all stitched in place, and then that'll probably be it for now, and I'll come back later to do the bias binding. Hindsight, I'm realizing if I had just made the lining bigger, this could have been my bias. I could have folded over the raw edge and then folded it over like that, and the lining could have just made my little stitch and been done. So again, something to think about when making my own, why can't I think of the word? My own jacket. When thinking of my own jacket, if I just make everything a little bit longer, so the sleeves longer, the inside seam longer, and the outside edge longer, then all I have to do is fold this in, press it, fold it over like that, give it a stitch, and it's done. So I will be thinking of that for my own. I also think I might add a collar on my own jacket, but not on this one. Oh, and there's so much extra on the sleeves. There wasn't supposed to be, but the sleeves were too long when I tried them on her, so I cut an inch off. So just trimming that away so I can sew it together. So I have my lining with my jacket, and I have to do my least favorite bit, which is the binding. I made this out of the same bed sheet just earlier. I've made bias tape a million times, so I wasn't gonna film the process, but this is my least favorite part of any project that requires something like this, like binding, bias tape, whatever, because I can just never get it right. I feel like the raw edges are always exposed and I always hate it, and it's always, I'm just not good at it. And if you actually look back, I think one of my very first videos on this channel is me making a quilt, and the quilt almost gets ruined completely from me stressing over the binding. So I'm hoping that that is not the case today. I have gotten a little better at it since then, but I'm gonna start with the bottom. So I'm gonna start in the back bottom and kind of work my way around, so that way the piece that is kind of like the piece that I have to like finish off at the end is in the back, and you won't really like see it that often. I also am going to use this to make my little ties, so those will go on after as well. Let me get this all pinned on and ready to sew. I'm going to start on the inside. This is where I got to last night. I got all the binding on, but I have to just stitch it to the other side now. And then I also prepped my little ties that are gonna go on the jacket. So it'll go here and it'll be sewn on the inside, and then I'll have one on the other side to tie the jacket together. So I also pre-threaded my machine. It has the olive green, and we just have to always the hardest part, right? I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm just not a fan of doing binding and bias tape and all that stuff. I'm not good at it. But I do think that this is coming along much better than all the other versions that I've done, like all other bias tape binding. I think this is coming along a lot better. So cute.